Greetings, loyal airmen, and hey, welcome to the new Airship 27 podcast, number 66. Whoa, all right.
66,
And of
that's
course,
my age now.
there you go. I'm Captain Ron Fortier, and as ever, joining me for this ridiculous hour of hilarity, mayhem, and who knows what else is my good friend and partner, Chief Engineer Rob Davis. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How about you? Staying healthy and
cool. Colorado, people haven't been watching. Colorado's breaking all kinds of heat records. We've had close to, I don't know, maybe 22, 23 days in the 90s.
Wow. Well, that's not unusual here, but that's unusual there.
Yeah, and of course, it's not helping the serious forest fires.
No. Yeah, I can imagine.
That firefighters across the state are battling. Air quality has sucked bad. So it's bad enough we have to stay indoors, and be isolated because of COVID-19. But add to that bad, air quality, and even a simple walk around the neighborhood you can't do anymore. This is 2020 sucks, my friend. It sucks.
Well, and that smoke is probably going to come my way here shortly. It did the last time we had big forest fires in California. It came all the way here to Missouri.
Yeah, that's what's happening. Because, of course, of the weather pattern moving east, all those fires in California, the smoke is actually joined up with the smoke from Colorado. It's insane. We get up in the morning.
I can imagine.
Usually I can see the Rocky Mountains from my backyard in the morning. Not anymore. Just that haze. Just that ridiculous haze. Wow. All right. Hey, buddy, you get the honors of bad joke to start.
Well, you kind of sprang this on me a little early, so I hadn't had a chance to look for a joke yet. But I have one that I remember.
Oh,
and
good.
It's even associated with the fact that I am now a senior, more than just a senior citizen. I can draw Social Security at full. So 66 years old. So anyway, here's the story. This gentleman he's been having trouble with his hearing. So he goes to the doctor, and the doctor examines him and he says, looks like you're going to need hearing aids. So the guy goes, all right. My family's been complaining about I turned the TV up too loud, and I asked them to repeat themselves. So yeah, I'll get the hearing aids. So a couple of months go by, and the guy comes back for his check, his check back, and the doctor, he's sitting in front of the doctor, and he goes, well, how's it going? He goes, well, pretty good. They seem to be helping. And he goes, well, what did you tell your family? He goes, nothing. And I've changed my will 3 times.
I love that. That's awesome.
One of my favorites. That's why I could remember it, because I love that.
I'm glad you saved it for us, amigo. That is really a great joke. All right, so
anybody who's watching this all along notices that this one is one I might have told before. Too bad.
No. We haven't heard this.
I have, but it's my favorite.
No, the punchline got me. That's really, really a decent joke. All right. Hey, look, I'm going to take the first agenda here, which is a Who's Who update. Since the release of our directory on the creators of the new pulp movement, the book has earned a very nice $242, which was then sent to the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital as planned. That's a pretty nice sum for 1 month worth of sales. So here's hoping that we can do that again in the coming months. All right. All possible because of the time and generosity of 222 wonderful creators, writers, artists, publishers, and reviewers. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate the effort you put into this.
Round of applause.
All right. So now we have 3 new releases since our last show.
Yeah. Wow.
August, aside from the other stuff we were talking about, as far as Airship 27, has been very good for us. So why don't you take the first one? I'll take the second, and then you can wrap it up with the last title.
All right. So it's been a very busy August. as we release 3 new titles this month, and they are Ilaris, I guess that's how you pronounce it, by writer Wayne Carey, is the first in a new sci-fi action series reminiscent of those classic space operas of the 1940s and 50s. James Lyle did all the great interiors, and Ted Hammond the gorgeous colored cover. Now, this is not one I have read since I didn't illustrate it, but from what little snippets I saw of it, it looked really interesting. And James Lyles, as usual, knocked those illustrations out of the park. Just beautiful stuff.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this when we were promoting it in past episodes, about the fact that we were trying to mimic those great 1950s Ace paperbacks and whatever with the look and feel of it. Okay, because that's what it reads like pretty much. It's a great series, and again, we've got the second one in the queue, and ultimately, hopefully, we can get James and Ted back on board for that one when the time comes. But right now, and a little bit of good news right now, James is actually working on illustrations for the next Domino Lady collection.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm sure our loyal airmen are going to be very excited about that. All right, so that was book number 1 for August. And then came Mystery Men and Women, Volume 6. Now, this is our showcase series, where our writers get to create brand new pulp heroes in the tradition of the classics. This volume features Teal James Glenn introducing Professor Hondo Blackstone as the Masked Avenger, the Sight. Then Greg Hatcher offers up Dr. Fix-It and his chief mechanic. Dale Cozart delivers Dr. Vita, the man who can reanimate the dead for a period of 24 hours. And lastly, we have the return of the beautiful martial artist Kiri by Curtis Fernland, I should say, right. Rob does all the interiors and the cover. And I got to tell you, Rob, comments from the actual writers themselves reached me after we released the book and we did some promotion to it. All of them thrilled with those illustrations you did of their stories. They were beyond happy. And so
those were very great stories. I really, really enjoyed reading them. I mean, I always enjoy these Mystery Men and Women books, but these 4 stories were some of the best I've read, period. Great short stories, and figuring that these are all new characters, they had that pulp feel to them, but at the same time they had some modern sensibilities to them. So it was a lot of fun illustrating this.
I can't help but agree with you. All right, I think this is a stellar collection, and I hope we have a lot of readers who've enjoyed this series and have been bugging me about when we were going to do other volumes. So here we go. This one's out, and I'm already working on trying to assemble volume 7. So hopefully next year we'll have that one out as well. All right. And let you have the last release of August.
And finally, Dan Fowler G-Man Volume 3. This one features 4 new stories of Gangdom's Enemy, FBI agent Dan Fowler, as written by Gene Moyers, Whit Howland, Aaron Powers, and Fred Adams Jr. Kevin Paul Broden provides the interior illustrations, and Chris Rodding the dramatic color cover. Not bad for 1 month's output. Thanks, of course, to all our great writers and artists. And I guess we'll move on to the next item. Yeah. Unless we have some comments about Dan Fowler. What did you think about this one, Ron?
Well, again, I was really, really happy with the stories. Fowler lends himself to a variety of gangland, pulpish adventure and action. Okay, I mean, you can literally have him like this collection shows. Okay, there's one of the stories, I think it's by Aaron Powers, where he's in New York City fighting enemy agents, where we flip it around and he's out in the Midwest going after the Ma Barker and the Bonnie and Clyde type of gangsters. Okay, so and I think that was the appeal of the G-Man series of the classic pulps, because it was never the same thing, was never the same stories. And knock on wood, we've got 3 great writers who really put Dan and his friends through their paces in this volume. So it's a great book. Kevin Broden's illustrations, he had a blast doing them. We enjoy working with him all the time. He really delivers. And Chris Rodding, the same thing. Chris gives us some really, really dramatic covers which hopefully catch your eye and make you want to know what's going on inside.
That's the idea.
All right. Okay. So let me once again get on the soapbox and say we still need interior illustrators. All right. Look.
Yeah. Give me a break, folks. I can't do them all.
At present, right now, all right, we have 2 completed anthologies that we would so love to bring you. All right, Mars McCoy, Space Ranger, Volume 3, and The Purple Scar, Volume 4. They're all ready to go. I mean, we've got the stories for these all set. And again, we find ourselves, needing artists to do the illustrations for them. So please, all you loyal airmen out there, if you know any talented artists looking for some fun work, and I mean really fun work, and willing to work for peanuts. How's that for a sales pitch? All right. Then, hey, please send them our way. And Rob, I just mentioned the anthologies. That doesn't even include, I think right now we've got at least 5, maybe 6 novels ready to go if and when we can get an art team together for them. So as ever, that becomes, the biggest challenge of doing what we do every month and every year. Somehow we manage to get it done. In the past year, we've talked about the fact we have recruited a couple of new young artists who are really, doing some excellent work for us. But again, life sometimes interferes, and a few of them have had to put their projects on hold, which is totally understandable. All right. One of the things that isn't here, but I do want to mention, is the fact that Chris Nye is back with us. And Chris is illustrating a new novel, a fantasy sword and sorcery novel by Mike Bullock called Rune Master. And he's just now did his first pencil sketch of illustration number 1. It looks fantastic. So again, we are getting some new artists, but boy, we could sure use another whole squad, believe me.
Yeah, if you want something to keep yourself busy while you're at home during this pandemic, and you're an artist, hey, get a hold of us. We'll keep you busy.
For sure. All right, and you know what? And putting out this plea to all you loyal airmen, believe me, many of you listening to this have been responsible for sending artists our way, and we really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Okay, bud, next.
All right. What's coming next? Okay, here we go. At present, that's anybody's guess, as usual. At the top of the list are still 2 anthologies, Bass Reeves, Frontier Marshal, Volume 4, with stories by Mel Odom, Terry Alexander, Derek Ferguson, and Ron. I've already finished the cover, and Howard Simpson is working on the interior illustrations.
All right. I just got a message on Facebook from Howard about 10 minutes before we went on the air, basically saying that his other paying commission gigs had been completed, so that he's back. Cool. He's back to working on the illustrations. He's hoping to get the first 3 of 12 to us by the end of the week, if not at the start of next week. So
very good.
Really good news. Okay. And then we have the Musketeers New Adventurers, with 2 short stories by Paul Beal and Alan Porter, and a novella-length adventure by Joel Jenkins. Ed Cotto has turned in almost half of his illustrations, and believe me, they are gorgeous. Though no cover artist has yet been chosen, I have an idea for someone, and I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. We're going to keep this secret a little while longer, but I have an idea of somebody I think would relish the challenge of doing the 3 Musketeers. So we'll see how that
hasn't told me yet either.
It has to be a secret. It has to be a secret. But this is, trust me, this is another one of our reliable regulars. Okay. And so I definitely, want to hook up with him first to sound him out. If he's on board, I'll get together with you, as we always do, and we'll work out some composition for this, because it's not the way Ed is going right now. It's not going to take him long to finish those illustrations.
No, he's very excited about this book, and really is pulling out all the stops from what I've seen of what he's doing so far. He is having a blast. He loves doing this stuff. Yeah. So anyway, after that, we've several really interesting books coming down the road. One is a fantasy Conan-like adventure by Mike Bullock with artist Chris Nye, which isn't that one you mentioned earlier?
Right,
Uh,
because we just saw
yeah,
that first illustration.
that should come together fast because Chris is fast. And the new writer George, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but I'm going to tackle it.
Tackies. Tackies.
Takis? Okay.
Yep.
George Takis recently submitted a new historical thriller that suggested assassin John Wilkes Booth wasn't killed shortly after his assassination of Abraham Lincoln, but actually escaped and then years later set about getting revenge for the destruction of Atlanta during the Civil War by hiring diehard Confederate radicals to help him cause the Great Chicago Fire. Trust me, this is like no other book we've ever done. And don't I love saying that? We love saying that.
Trust me. All right. When George came to us at Windy City Cons many times and kept talking about wanting to write for us. And then what happened was he hooked up with another Illinois writer and contributor, Michael Black.
Yes.
And Michael has taught writing before in the past. And so Michael worked with George and basically kept urging him to send me stuff. Okay. And he thought it was well worth it. So out of the blue, I get this letter of inquiry, right, about this idea called the Great Chicago Conspiracy, the Great Chicago Fire Conspiracy. And I'm reading his little outline, right? And he goes, the idea is John Wilkes Booth started the Great Chicago Fire. I go, what? John Wilkes Booth? Holy smokes. Well, I have since read the novel and edited, right? And it's brilliant. It really is. Okay. Aside from that outlandish plot theme, all right, you got to give George credit because, again, in doing anything that's historical, much like our dear Nancy Hansen in her pirate novels or whatever, George's research of the incidents themselves, of the several days that happened in Chicago, all right, 10 years after the Civil War, and that horrible fire that destroyed almost half the city itself, right, is amazing. And to put the story in the midst of that chaos, he pulls it off. Rob, it's like it had me turning pages and understanding the real living hell those poor people went through in those few days.
Which is really, really interesting since my wife Teresa has just been reading a book about that Chicago fire and was telling me about it, showing me maps of the city from when the fire started and how it developed and how much it just took over the whole city. And it also mentioned that prior to this big fire, there were a bunch of small fires all around the city that started it up. So, and plus I remember him talking about this story idea, I think in Windy City now, almost 2 years ago, about this. So it sounded really interesting.
It's a phenomenal book. And I think, and again, that's the thing about what's going to happen is people reading this are going to get to enjoy a great adventure story. All right. But at the same time, you're going to learn a lot. Okay. As far as things I didn't know. And of course, why that fire was so horrendous. The fact that so many buildings were side by side. I mean, they were built
all
with
wood. They were all wood.
That's what I'm saying. All
the
wood. They just got right. So that basically, as you go through it, the fire just spread from one neighborhood to the next. All right. And one of the things that you come away with, of the horror and the sympathy you had for the people who were caught up in it and lost their lives, lost everything they owned. It never discriminated, Rob. Okay. It took out ghetto shanties and rich boulevards. Okay. People with tons of money lost everything. People who had nothing lost everything. All right. The fire didn't discriminate. It just ate and ate and ate. And it's amazing. It's just horrendous. And obviously after they rebuilt the city, there were a lot of new code laws, a lot of new, firefighting techniques developed that worked but didn't work, and all those kind of things, all that came from that particular tragedy.
Yeah, I think it affected more than just Chicago too, if I recall correctly, because of the size of that fire and the devastation. It actually affected cities across America during that period, and the fire laws and fire regulations changed across the United States. It kind of revolutionized firefighting.
Big time.
We had the San Francisco fire, we had the Chicago fire, there were New York fires too, but I think that particular fire really kind of woke everybody up to hey, we better look at this a little closer. So that'll be a really interesting book to read.
Yep. All right. And then we've a new Bulldog Drummond volume in the works by writer I.A. Watson, and Rob is currently doing interior illustrations for Mark Justice's The Dead Sheriff Volume 4, A Town Called Purity by writer Michael Housel. Both these books have me really excited. You get an illustration from...
I do. I have the first one that I've done.
Yeah. All right.
If I can get it.
That background.
Don't you love this? It's invisible.
It's invisible. We can't
Let me get rid of my background here so you guys.
Oh, there goes the airship. Bye.
Yeah, away it goes. Let's see. Choose background effect. Let's go to none for now.
None. There's Rob's studio.
You can see the studio behind me.
All right.
Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. That's awesome. Great illustration, Rob. Great. And so that becomes number 4 in the series of the Dead Sheriff novels, and I'm very happy with what Michael Housel turned in. When we picked this up from the late Mark Justice, it was my hope that we could keep the series going. And after I finished the second one that Mark had started before he passed away, we were really lucky to get Fred Adams Jr. on board to do Volume 3. And now we get Michael Housel on board, and he does another great Western adventure.
I really enjoyed reading this book.
Yeah.
He's written a great story. I breezed through this thing. That's how good it was. His writing was very good. It felt like the characters were speaking the way they would back in that era. The reporter uses a lot of big words, whereas the regular folks talking vernacular. So it's a great little story, and I'm telling you, there were parts of it that creeped me out.
Yep.
It creeped me out.
Michael hit it out of the ballpark. He had sent me a plot outline for the book, and it was extremely tight and very well laid out so that I could see what he wanted to do and how he wanted to do it. And it fell right in line with the progression of the series from the other 3 books, which is something that hopefully we can have some kind of continuity so that people become fans of the Dead series, know a little bit to expect when they get into it, Okay, so
I really, really enjoyed this one. The last 2 books that I have read from that we're doing that I illustrated, actually, almost all of them that I've read and done this year have impressed the heck out of me. Every one of them. Mystery Men and Women, just great. This one, just phenomenal. R.A. Jones's book that we talked about in the last podcast or 2. Just some excellent stuff coming from us, folks. Check it out, because we got some, and there's more coming down the pike.
Oh, well, again, this is what you just said. We're talking about Dead Sheriff 4, and I just mentioned I. Watson turns in Bulldog Drummond number 3. Yeah, I never
to see that one.
So much fun, and like yourself, his writing of Bulldog Drummond blows me away. I mean, he outbonds James Bond, okay? And the point is, Ian himself, it. All right, he's definitely got tongue in cheek here, okay? He doesn't take it seriously to the point where this guy is the ultimate action adventure hero, and his sense of humor is what makes the book so unique, all right? I mean, he's just... I could list 100 examples of, as I'm reading this, Rob, I am laughing my butt off. I am just in stitches. Ian's so imaginative. It's phenomenal. All right. So there you go. Look, that's what we've released, and that's pretty much a ballpark of what we've got coming. We'll get back to that in a little minute, because we do have a question this podcast. and I'll let you read it. It's from
All right.
our good buddy writer Lee Houston Jr.
Yeah. All right. From Lee. Besides Brother Bones and hoping there's at least a vaccine, if not a cure for the pandemic by then, what's coming up for 2021?
Mm. There you go. See, that pretty much is the ballpark of all of this
All
stuff.
right.
But the truth is, there are books, and people who following us now, all right, all our legion of loyal airmen will understand, all right, that one thing you can always expect from Airship 27 is going to be a new Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Consulting detective, and trust me, 16's already done. It's in the queue, and hopefully we will have it done and ready for you by 2021. We
Yeah.
really don't like to overcrowd those, all right, and
Right.
and hey, nothing wrong with a little bit of anticipation and having fun to read something like this. Okay, so definitely you're going to see more Sherlock Holmes. All right, now as we just talked about, we've got another Bass Reeves volume 4 coming. All right, and that is another series that I particularly want to make an annual event at Airship
Right.
27. I recently, Rob, sent out a batch letter to all the
Right.
writers who had
Right.
done a Bass Reeves stories in the past, basically letting them know we'd like them to continue doing them for us. All right, that it is our hope and plan to do at least one volume every year. He's a phenomenal character, and if you listen to our podcast and our show, you'll understand how Rob and I feel about that. The
Yes.
injustice done to him and other black pioneers and soldiers and people who tamed the West needs to be corrected. Needs the records need to be set straight. And if our little action adventure stories can, in some small way, help that, then hey, we're that's what's going to happen. Now, other things I know in the back of my mind that I'm looking forward to, speaking of black writers, is we've got two of the best in the business. One, a regular, Derek Ferguson, and the
Yep.
other is his own publisher writer from Atlanta, Milton Davis. And
Right.
as
Right.
some of you will recall, last year I made an arrangement with the phenomenal, one of the best fantasy writers of all time, Charles Saunders, to allow us to have these two great gentlemen continue series that he had created. So Derek is actually now at work writing Damballa Volume 2. Okay, the first real black 1930s pulp Avenger. And then, I'm trying to remember who was Charles, also a few years back in a book called Black Pulp from Prose,
Right. Right.
created a black jungle witch queen called
Hmm.
Lulama. All right.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
so fascinated with the character. We talked, Charles and I talked, our friendship goes back many, many years. And so now we've got Milton Davis in the process of writing a Lulama novel, full-length novel.
Cool.
So
Cool.
both those projects are in the work. The guys are working on them. It's my hope and fingers crossed that at least by early April or even early next summer, we'll have both books finished and out and available for everybody. So that is going to be something to really look forward to. All right. Uh, what else? What else? Can we talk about? Uh, I'm thinking to myself at the same time. The Brother Bones project is moving along. In fact, Rob and I just yesterday
Yep.
morning sat in on another, what do you want to call, pre-production meeting
Uh-huh.
with the producers, the director, and the scriptwriter. And believe me, these guys have their stuff pretty well organized.
They're ambitious too.
Yeah, they're moving at a very good clip. They've put together an excellent team. Right now they've got a casting director, they've got a publicist, they have a special effects uh, uh, expert who's going to work with them, et cetera, et cetera. And so a lot of that, we talked about as far as where things are going, and I'm not letting anything out of the bag because we did it in the video anyways. But with September just another week away, they're hoping to start actual casting for the first episode of the web series sometimes next month, the middle of next month, the end of next month. I'm not sure, But what they will be doing is very professionally putting out what you call these casting calls on industry newspapers and websites and whatever.
Sometimes known as cattle calls.
Yeah, there you go. You know your film history. Yeah. So look, if you're a young actor, I'm guessing a lot of the filming for the series will take place in Oklahoma and Texas. And if that's your neck of the woods and this is something you think you'd like to get involved with, keep an eye out and go to the website. There is a Brother Bones website. It's basically brotherboneswebseries.com. And not only will you see a list of the people involved, like Rob and myself, the producer, directors, and the people I just mentioned, but at the same time, Rob kindly donated a great deal of artwork and sketches that of the characters and some from illustrations from previous Brother Bones books. So that's something else that we're all excited about. And who knows? I mean, with all the hype for Brother Bones, it's of course not out of the question that maybe sometimes at the turn of the year I'll look to maybe putting out another volume of Brother Bones.
Yeah.
Rob enjoyed the collection we just did, Tales of Cape Noir, whereby we had other writers playing my sandbox, if you will.
Another fun read. It really was.
And we may do that again, maybe with another bunch of writers. We'll see if we can, rustle up others who might have an interest.
It's nice to see somebody else's concept of the characters, and we've talked about this before. But what was really funny is that each one of them created new denizens of Cape Noir. Each of them, either a villain or some
hero, right? Another superhero of a kind. Yeah, right.
Yeah, each one of them created their own to add to the universe. So you can't keep a creator from creating.
We'll have to get a hold of T. Glenn Bain at Scarecrow Games and do another edition of his.
Yeah, do an addendum to it and add these are new characters in Cape Noir. But that just tickled the heck out of me as I was reading each story, and I was coming to, well, wait a minute, I don't remember this character before, and they're pivotal. They're important now.
It did. One of the things they did, and which I appreciated too, is that I think one of the things about the old classic pulps was that they would write stories, Rob, or adventures, and then you'd pick up the next month's issue, and it was like the last month's never really occurred.
Yeah,
it was like a different world. Okay, I mean the classic example of that was the Spider. Okay, in every issue of the Spider, half of New York is destroyed, right? Thousands of people killed, and then you get the next month, and everything's okay, everything's in place, like nothing happened, and once again a new supervillain destroys half the city, blah blah blah. Okay, well, in writing, I think writers today, writers of our age, our generation, feel a connection that we have to, move things along, evolve sagas, stories, or whatever to a degree. And so from the time I started writing the Brother Bones series, all through the books that we've put out, I've always wanted to have some kind of progression, not keep the characters totally stagnant. I mean, have them grow, have them evolve, have some die, all right, and leave the stage, which I did.
We've had some of that,
which obviously led to that point where I could tell these new writers, go ahead and create some new characters, but I didn't think they'd go that hog wild with the,
I can see creating, a background character, some thug who's part of this, and he's essentially a red shirt and gets killed off by the end of the story. But some of these characters, there are repercussions from them entering the scene that have to be dealt with.
They are now part of the Brother Bones, landscape.
They're part of the milieu.
Yeah, and we will see them again. We will see all of them again. How and what shape, I'm not 100% sure, but stay tuned. You will find out. All right, and Lee has one last question, which pretty much broke my heart, which is, when will the Maze Agency novel be released? You know what? I can't answer that because we asked Mike Barr, writer-creator of Maze Agency, to do a novel for us so long ago. And then within a few years of that request, we ran into him in Ohio at a con.
Right.
And once again, put our pitch. And Mike always seemed slightly reluctant. That it was something he'd already done and didn't want to revisit again. That was the sense I got.
Yeah, I get that.
I'd rather go on, do other new stuff and whatever. So, Lee, there's a point where, Rob and I are huge Maze Agency fans.
I did an issue of Maze Agency for Innovation way back when.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of the series.
We would jump at doing a Maze Agency novel from Mike. But
it's
again,
entirely up to him.
Right. There's a point where it becomes you're pestering somebody, okay? And you need to just back off and whatever. I appreciate your question, though. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's something I hadn't thought about in a long time. So there's nothing that says I might not drop Mike a short note. Just say, hi, how you doing? And just, hey, just give him a curious little, giving any thought to it and let
anything,
go.
Anything itching at you to get told about these characters.
Yeah.
I mean, they're characters he created. They're walking around inside there. They might have something they want to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I know writers who look at their characters as quote unquote real. I mean, they speak to them. They know what who they are, what they're doing. And a lot of times you start writing a story and you find out that where you thought you were going is not where the characters want to go.
All the time.
Hasn't that happened to you, Ron?
All the time. Yeah.
I've talked to lots of writers that's happened to.
Oh yeah.
So this is a thing I think where the characters are going to have to talk to him and get him to tell a story.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking at this point they're being silent. They're not talking what they want to do, or do whatever it is they're telling him to do. But it's his baby. We would love to do it if he ever decides to do something with it. But at the same time, since it's his, he can do it or not do it at his own pace. And whether he wants to do it or not is entirely up to him. We'd love to do it, but it's whether he wants to do it or not. So we'll see. We'll see.
Right. Exactly. Like I said, we can be polite about it, but we're not going to push the guy. I won't do that to anybody.
No.
All right.
I've worked with Mike many times, and he's a great guy and a great writer. But this may just not be something he wants to do right now. Okay.
All right. So hey, look, getting close to this episode, and as we always do to wrap it up, what do you got going? Anything, Rob, that you want to share?
I'm proceeding along with Twilight Grim. I've just started issue 3 of that one. It's that things are building to a crescendo here in this book, where it's the humans against the vampires. And it's building to there's going to be a knockdown drag out, I think, in issue 4, and we're building to that in issue 3, putting all the pieces in place for that. I'm having a blast doing that. I feel like my art is growing again. My storytelling art is growing again, which is a good feeling. That's one of the things I liked about it when I worked in the industry on a regular basis was I always felt like I was progressing. There was something about what I was doing that was getting better all the time. And so when I took this back up again as a regular, as I knew it was going to be at least a 3 issue, and then RA comes back and he says, "Hey, can we extend it one more? I got a little more story than I thought." And so I reluctantly said, sure. But I think by the time 4 rolls around, I think I'll be really rolling along here. So I'm looking forward to finishing this one up and then moving on to 4 and really getting it. Looks like a big knockdown drag out. That should be a lot of fun. I showed the pictures from the Dead Sheriff, that first one.
Yeah, right.
I've read the book and I've done all the thumbnails, so I'll be working on that. What else have we got that hasn't been out there yet? I think we've got. I was thinking the cover but that was Mystery Men and Women, and that's out now.
Right.
I did the cover for that. Yeah. I'm looking at the table here. I think that's it.
Okay.
There are some
that's
other
enough. Believe me, that's plenty.
That I'd like to get to, but
that's plenty.
I can't talk about them yet.
No, one of the things.
I want to see you do another Boston Bombers.
Yeah.
because we have talked about this, and I want to draw the darn thing.
Okay, I've an idea. I've a plot. And I'll probably get. No, I will probably get to it sooner than later now, only because in talking with you, this has been a strange and active year for me, fiction-wise, prose-wise. Okay, in that this year I've gotten to do three short stories that will be published by other publishers, not us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The first one being the alternate Dracula story.
Yeah.
For the Chris Segura and his Australian company. As people remember, I had done a Sherlock Holmes story for him 2 years ago. And the publisher really liked that whole alternate world kind of thing, and so agreed to let Chris do more of them. And so the next subject matter is Dracula. And the cool thing about this is that when you get to the story, when you open it up, Chris writes the like prologue, if you want, all right, the opening sequence.
Uh-huh.
It's basically the Dracula that we all know from Bram Stoker and
right.
Seen the rest of them, okay? But he gets sucked into this vortex like a black hole, right? And then basically into that black hole, he basically finds himself in other realities. And then you open, there's another story, and now he's not the same Dracula, okay? Now, I'm not going to give away what I did with Dracula, but only to say that it was by far one of the most bizarre and original ideas I have ever had, and it ended up being.
Did we lose you?
Came to us, and Tommy had this idea for another anthology with different new characters, and Tommy created a psychologist named Doc Dunninger, who basically solves crimes without going out or investigating, but from his office, basically a la Rex Stout and Nero Wolf kind of thing, which took a lot of times to plot out, to work out and whatever. But by the time I was done, I was having a blast, and I really enjoyed doing those. And it's one of the few books, Rob, that I've done in first person, because I had to play that Watson type character, okay, who in this case is a lawyer named Murdoch, who works with Doc. Okay, so that got finished. That's there. And then finally, the last one, again, nobody gives me easy stories, like when I can just blow up things or punch bad guys out, right? And that's our good buddy, Joe Gentile, came to me wanting another Ivy Frost story.
Oh.
So, if you're unfamiliar, Frost is the scientific detective, all right? And so I had to come up with a mystery and then figure out how Frost would solve it, et cetera, and basically bring along his beautiful, sexy sidekick, Jean Moray. And Joe wanted 8,000 words. I gave him 10,000. Be kind. But again, it was one of those stories where when you're writing mysteries, you have to play fair. And I had to give clues, and I had to go step to step to step. I don't want to cheat the readers and say, "Oh, Ron pulled, a sneaky
that rabbit out of his hat." Yeah.
Yeah, right. Not going to happen. Okay. But anyways, this is basically the story of a train that disappears off the tracks in the middle of the night. Gone. Okay. A diesel engine, circa 1938, right off the tracks, gone. They can't find. And it's Frost's job to find out what happened to the vanishing train. That's the story. I send it in to Joe. Joe has it, and fingers crossed he's going to allow the extra 2,000 words, and we'll maybe get to see that later this year from Moonstone Books. So again, like I said, I'm a busy camper with short fiction.
Cool.
But with that behind me, I've really been plotting out where Boston Bombers has to go now. Okay, how to pick it up, because it's over 25 years since I wrote that first series, and I always in the back of my mind knew what the second half would be. But that's a different thing than sitting down and actually writing it. So it's going to be one of those kind of cases, people, where Ron literally has to sit down with a copy of the book and read it while taking notes. Okay. I always get a kick out of fans who think that because we created something, we remember it forever and ever. No, we don't.
Nope.
No, we don't. We move
Nope.
on. Again, like we said, we move on to other things and other characters and other stories. So although it's fun to revisit, and in this case, particularly because this was a story that I loved writing, and I'm very anxious to get back to those characters in that world. As Rob said, they were telling me a lot more than what I got down that first series. So anyways, but I have to be meticulous so that it fits well. And by the time, hopefully, I give Rob a script, he'll be excited by it, and we can start working on that by the end of the year, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
All right. And that's pretty much what we got, buddy.
Well, you mentioned something on your I guess it's your blog, and it piqued my interest. Okay. So let me get rid of the background here because I'm going to have to grab it and pull it forward.
Oh, you got one.
Yes.
You got one.
I can't believe how cheap these are. How inexpensive they are. And here's I love it.
Yeah, we
this
were
is
like
one of my favorite sci-fi films. Yep. Robbie the Robot.
A Voyage to a Forbidden Planet. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The arms move, and he walks.
It's mine. There's mine. Oh yeah. Hey, I posted it. I posted it online. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many people have that now. All right, and kudos to the company that put it out, because, like you said, it retails.
Can't believe how cheap it is.
$20. It's ridiculous. All right. It is a great toy for anybody who loves classic science fiction. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's very cool. So we each have our own Robbie. Here we go. All right, buddy. Hey, look, it's time for my bad joke.
See, that's why I brought out Robbie. I was putting it off as long as possible. Okay, here we go.
Here we go. Okay. So Harry runs a nice little bar, and one day a total stranger walks in and sits at the bar and looking around, and Harry says, "So, what do you have?" He says, "Give me 3 beers." One at a time. No, 3 beers. Okay. So he pours 3 beers, and the guy sits there, and nice day, huh? He's drinking the beers, finishes, pays, and leaves. Following Tuesday afternoon, the same guy walks in the bar again. So Harry walks over and goes, "Oh, hey, hi, how you doing?" He said, "Okay." So what do you have? He says, 3 beers. 3. He said, "Yep." Now this goes on for about a month. So finally, the guy comes in, and Harry says, "Look, I really don't like to be nosy," but he says, "Some of my other customers are watching you, and they're seeing this too. And what's the story with the 3 beers?" And so the guy starts to laugh. Oh, he's look, it's no big thing. He says, "I'm from back east." And he said, "I have 2 brothers." And he says, "We got into this habit years ago of every Tuesday afternoon getting together and going into a bar and having a beer together. Well, a month ago, my younger brother got another job in France, and I got this job here. So for the first time, we were going to be split up. So, before we all left, we made this vow that every Tuesday afternoon, we'd walk into a nice little bar like yours, and each of us would have 3 beers. The bartender goes, "Well, that's all right. Let me get you 3 beers." And he gives them the 3 beers, the guy, and off he goes. Okay, so, mystery solved. Now, the following week, the guy comes in, gets his 3 beers, the week after. And then a month later, he walks in, and as Harry's going to pour, he goes, "Just 2. Oh, okay. He pours him the 2 beers, he drinks them, and he leaves. Comes back the following week, and Harry's a little puzzled. He says, "Hey, how's it going?" "All right, Harry, give me 2 beers." That's it. He pours him the 2 beers. He drinks the beer, starts to leave. He says, wait a minute. He says, what? He goes, I'm sorry, but I got to offer my condolences. Condolences? Well, yeah. I mean, you told me the story about your brothers and, getting the 3 beers, but now you're only getting 2. And the guy, oh, no. My brothers are fine. He goes, it's just Lent. I've given up drinking.
Oh, I did not see that coming. Not at all. I did not see that coming.
He gave up drinking. Teresa will love that one.
I'll have to tell her that one. Oh my, that's really bad. See why I tried to put this off, folks?
And here we go. Hey, look, we're coming on the hour real quick. And once again, hey, we're still logging in about 100 views per episode.
Yeah, that's great. So, thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for spending this wacky, crazy hour with us. It really makes it all worthwhile. Rob and I look forward to doing this, and especially today. This was supposed to take place a few hours from now. Thanks, buddy, for cutting your schedule a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't know what we were going to be. I had to wing it here because I got the agenda just before we got started. I usually like to read it through before we start, but this was pretty close to off the cuff.
Well, hey, we pulled it off. I think it was a good episode.
Yeah, well, and okay. This is what we do at conventions too. I mean, we don't go in with an agenda to conventions. We just sit down and we start talking to folks.
Have a good time. Have a good time. Hey, look, if you're not having fun doing this stuff, why are you doing it? Okay, really? Okay, people. So hey, thanks again for joining us. We will see you in September and hopefully with some more books out. Rob, I'll let you.
Yeah, this is Chief Engineer Rob Davis signing off.
And as ever, Captain Ron says, down ship.